Yashodanandana Braja Chanarandana Yashodanandana Braja Chanarandana Yamunati Ravanachari Yamunati Ravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Shri Radha Madhava Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande. Okay, ich spreche heute Englisch. I will speak English. Majority of devotees don't speak German. Not so much, huh? No problem. Ich brauche noch meine Computertasche. So he will finish the verse. It's a long verse today. Srimad Bhagavatam. Will be very interesting. Every verse is very interesting. What's written there in this ancient scriptures, what's hidden there in these ancient scriptures. Okay, danke. It's hidden treasures. Okay. Yeah, with a small board. Crossing over everything. Okay. So. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtabresha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, the Status Quo, Chapter 20. I think it's called the Talks between Vidura and Maitreya. Text 36. Naikatrate chayati Naikatrate chayati shalini pada padmam Naikatrate chayati shalini pada padmam Naikatrate chayati shalini pada padmam Gnantya muhu karaktalena patat padangam Gnantya muhu karatalena patat patangam Gnantya muhu karatalena patat patangam Madhyam Vishidati Prihat Stanabharapitam. Madhyam Vishidati Prihat Stanabharapitam. Madhyam Vishidati Prihat Stanabharapitam. Shanteva Drishtiramala Sushikha Samuha. Shanteva Drishtiramala Sushikha Samuha. Shanteva Drishtiramala Sushikha Samuha. Yes, please. Passt auch. Ich höre die Devotees beides chanten in diesem Versmeter. Aber wenn jemand lieber, normalerweise habe ich gehört, wenn jemand vorchantet, soll man diese Melodie nachchanten. Aber wenn jemand Probleme mit der Melodie hat, von mir aus, ich bin da nicht so strikt, kann man auch Brahma Samhita chanten. Naikatrate chayati shalini pada padmam. Gnantya muhu karatalena patat padangam. Madhyam vishidati prihat stanabharabitam. Shanteva drishtiramala sushika samuha. Naikatrate chayati shalini pada padmam. Gnantya muhu karatalena patat padangam. Madhyam vishidati prihat stanabharabitam. Shanteva drishtiramala sushika samuha. Matajis. Naikatrate chalini shalini pada padmam. Mukaratalena patat padangam. Na, not ekatra, in one place. Te, your. Chayati, stay. Shalini, O beautiful woman. Pada padmam, lotus feet. Anantya, striking. Muhu, again and again. Karatalena, by the palm of the hand. Patat, bouncing. Padangam, the ball. Madhyam, waist. Vishidati, gets fatigued. Prihat, full grown. Stana, of your breasts. Bhara, by the weight. Bhitam, oppressed. Shanta iva, as if fatigued. Drishti, vision. Amala, clear. Su, beautiful. Shikha, your hair. Samuha, bunch. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O beautiful woman, when you strike the bouncing ball against the ground with your hand again and again, your lotus feet do not stay in one place. Oppressed by the weight of your full-grown breasts, your waist becomes fatigued and your clear vision grows dull, as it were. Pray braid your comely hair. Tommy, I think it's a little too going over. Hare Krishna. Purport. The demons observe beautiful gestures in the woman's every step. Here they praise her full-grown breasts, her scattered hair, and her movements in stepping forward and backward while playing with the ball. In every step they enjoy her womanly beauty, and while they enjoy her beauty, their minds become agitated by sex desire. As moths at night surround a fire and are killed, so the demons become victims of the movements of the ball-like breasts of a beautiful woman. The scattered hair of a beautiful woman also afflicts the heart of a lusty demon. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshumilitam Vina Tasmai Shri Guravi Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangong Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamahang Vande Shri Guruntina Taranam Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svabhadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Naikatra te chayati shalini pada padmam gnantya muhukara talena patat padangam madhyam vishidati prihatstana bharas pitam shanteva drishtyara mala sushika samuha. O beautiful woman, when you strike the bouncing ball against the ground with your hand again and again, your lotus feet do not stay in one place. Oppressed by the weight of your full-grown breasts, your waist becomes fatigued and your clear vision grows dull, as it were. Pray braid your comely hair. Hare Krishna. So this verse refers actually not to a real woman, but to an illusion. So these demons who were created by Brahma, they saw the twilight as a woman. So to interpret the twilight as woman, and as it said, whatever your consciousness is, everything that you see in the world, right? Atmavan manyate jagat. And the devotee, as Krishna says, a devotee sees Krishna everywhere. And so also a lusty man, he sees everything what is concerning his lust everywhere, interprets everything in this way. I read now in the Chaitanya Charitamrita a couple of days ago, there was a wonderful talk, actually one of the most important talks in Chaitanya Charitamrita between Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Madhya Lila. And in the end, Ramananda Rai, he is actually understanding that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself after this whole talk, and he was overwhelmed by the topic itself. Yeah? It was a very elevated topic, very deep, elevated, detailed, structured, very interesting how it is presented. And then he says, oh, you are actually Krishna, you are Shyam, you are the Supreme Lord. And then Mahaprabhu says, this you only say because you are pure devotee, and a pure devotee sees everywhere Krishna, and so it's no surprise that you see also in me Krishna, but it's not true. And Mahaprabhu quotes some verses which substantiate this. A devotee sees Krishna everywhere and everything in connection with Krishna. And then Ramananda Rai said, good excuse, but I don't really buy it. Please show me your form. And then it said Mahaprabhu showed himself being Krishna. Actually it said, what was it? How was Krishna called? I forgot. But Radharani was called Mahabhava. He showed himself as the form of Mahabhava, and Krishna was Madhurya. I forgot. Anyway, and then And when I read this, I thought, wow, this is now one of the most, no, yeah, not one of the most, but it's a very important part in Chaitanya Charitamrita, revelation that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna. Sri Chaitanya, what is it? Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nai Anya. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nai Anya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from Radha Krishna. And this vision is described only in one verse by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Only this, that he saw Krishna and Radharani in Mahaprabhu. Could have been more detailed, more explained, how, this and that, but just one verse. And then Ramananda Rai faints and falls in, becomes ecstatic, of course. But there it was also this point that whatever is our consciousness, we see it everywhere. And also in Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, verse 30, I always forget the Sanskrit, Yomang Pashyati Savatra, Sacha, what is it? I always forget where it said, one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I'm never lost to him, nor is he ever lost to me. So it's possible to see Krishna everywhere. And it's also possible to see whatever material consciousness we have kind of everywhere and see everything in this way. When you go through the forest, you see, if you have like a sattvic mind, you see forest, trees, birds, nature, nice, appealing. It's very satisfying. But when you have a rajasic mind, especially if it's trained in an economic way, you see everywhere money. Because such a tree is actually very valuable. Depends also on the tree. Not every tree is valuable, but many trees are valuable. And actually, most of the forests are grown for making money. And you see, so much money here, standing, growing here, everywhere. So, and here it's spoken about demons who have a lusty mind, and they see everywhere sex pleasure. They see everything in regard to sex pleasure, and it can become so perverted that it's actually the only thing what is in their mind, like a drug addict. Drug addicts, they are so controlled by their addiction and the substance, they cannot think about anything anymore, completely obsessed. And here these demons, they are so obsessed, like that, and they see in this twilight, it takes the form of a woman, where beautiful young women playing with a ball and become very attractive, and these demons are completely bewildered by that. So in general, this is, as we know, this is the main problem, as also, as also Arjuna states to Krishna, or he asks actually, what is this problem that we do bad things, even though we don't want it? And of course Krishna, what is this verse? Where are we here? Because I always forget the Sanskrit. Atakena prayukto yam papam charati purusha anichan api varshnya baladiva niyochitaha. Arjuna actually in Bhagavad Gita asks so many intelligent questions. It's such an interesting dialogue. Arjuna is very aware of what he hears, and he has questions, and this shows also what should be our attitude in any discussion, actually, not just in spiritual action, any discussion. We should be very attentive, listening and understanding, and ask questions and be concerned. Arjuna is very concerned. After hearing many topics in the third chapter, then he asks actually, what is the problem? More or less, this is the question of Bhagavad Gita. What is the problem? That we are impelled to act in a sinful way, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force. Unwillingly, or more or less, you know that it's wrong, but still you do it. And we know, it's karma. Karma isha, Krishna says, karma isha, krodha isha, raja guna samutma. Mahashano mahapapma, vidi inam iha vairinam. He calls this force which makes us act in all kinds of ways, often bad. He calls it the great enemy, all-devouring enemy of the world, right? Mahapapma, greatly sinful. And then he says, Vidi enam iha vairinam, which means you should know this enemy very well. You should know how it works. So this is very important for devotees, definitely, because We should know how lust works, material attraction works, how Maya works. We should know all that. And in this regard, because by divine accident, I'm actually reading right now a chapter in Bhagavatam, which is connected with this. Not maybe at the psychology, maybe not. It's not about psychology. It's a lila. It's a lila. I'm reading in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto. What is it? 53rd. I think it was 50 something chapter, because this enemy has many names, many aspects, and we always wonder, who is it now? What is it now? And in one sense we say it's Maya, and we know Maya is behind everything. But Maya is the Maya is the general illusion, so to say, and then Maya has different details to it, so to say. And actually the one who is the culprit of the whole thing, of course we are the culprit, but who is the immediate force is, in that regard, is Kamadev. Because Kamadev is responsible for that everyone is in Kama. Kama, Esha, Krodha, Esha. This Kama, there's a Dev behind it, right? There's a divine personality, Kamadev. Amor, or Cupid. Yeah, Cupid. And we know from the Greek mythology, but actually also from the Vedic, that he has a bow and an arrow, right? And he shoots arrows in our heart, which make us actually crazy. Actually make us crazy. So, and that's very interesting that this works like that. And only a pure devotee, actually, only a pure devotee is immune against this attack. A pure devotee, he doesn't care, because he loves Krishna. His heart is already, how to say, given. If you really love someone, then whoever comes and offers you, oh, please marry me or something, say, sorry, I love someone else. Not possible. And Krishna's love should be completely engaging. I don't want to say Krishna is a greedy God, but in a spiritual way, he actually wants us completely, for our good, to be immune against any material attraction. Yeah, this higher taste, parangdrishtva nivartate, which comes along with Krishna Bhakti, will make us immune against all kinds of attractions which are done by Maya, and of course also in this regard by Kamadev. And Kamadev it's intense. So this Kamadev, what? Yeah, this Kamadev once he wanted to incite, because he likes to, I don't know, maybe he likes to incite people, and maybe he's like shooting arrow, and then they're like all the hearts, they have their hearts above their head. Oh yes, very nice. I love this wonderful girl, which is actually not wonderful. Huh? Kamadev bewilders us so much that we fall in love with all kinds of weird people at times. Maybe some of you have experience of that, some not, but sometimes it's very interesting with who can fall in love with whom, right? Completely incompatible personalities. But Kamadev is so powerful, right? And then when we come out of karma, sometimes like this, we come out of this karma and say, what have I done? How could I do that actually? It was so crazy. This is not reasonable. And actually I don't even like this person. It's not even beautiful at all. But Kamadev is very powerful. Illusion. Love potion. Yes, love potion. So many years ago, one movie where there was about a love potion. When you drink this, then you become very attractive to the people and you bewilder them. It doesn't matter who you are. So, and once this Kamadev, he wanted to bewilder no one else but Shiva himself, who was meditating, because Uma wanted to have his attention or even a relationship, or wanted to make a child with him or something, but he was deeply absorbed in meditation. She was deeply absorbed in meditation. And Kamadev said, no problem, Uma, I help you. This is my field now. I get everyone. And instead he shot his arrows on Shiva, who was getting out of his meditation, but he was incited actually. He was affected them by emotions, but not with that emotions which Kamadev expected. Actually, it was his second emotion, because it said first, Kama esha krodha esha, right? Or in this verse, Dhyaya to vishayam pungsa sangas te shupachar, the sun, Kama, what's this? Yeah, Kamat krodho vichayate. Yeah, first comes the enjoyment, and then comes the krodha, right? The anger. And so Shiva was immediately in krodha. I don't know, maybe was there some attraction. And out of his anger, he immediately burned Kamadev. So I think with fire emanating from his eyes. Was it from his eyes? I don't remember. Somehow or other with fire. And he burned Kamadev to ashes. It was just a pile of Kamadev left over. So because Shiva, he didn't think it was funny. Why are you disturbing? Who are you? You know. And Shiva, anyone else would have become bewildered, but Shiva not. Pure devotee not, and Shiva not. But besides that, everyone else. We know the famous story of Vishwamitra meditating for thousands of years, and Menaka came, and he fell in karma just by the tinkling of her ankle bells. Just that was enough to make him completely bewildered. Just that. So, but Shiva was not touched at all by that. So, and then Kamadev was just a little pile of ashes. And then he kept on mating. So, who was most affected by that? Actually, the wife of Kamadev. Her name is Rati. Rati means actually also love, no? Attraction. Rati. She was not happy. Oh no, I lost my husband. This is very bad. So she went to Shiva and said, please, my dear Shiva, could you please kind of bring him back? It would be very kind of you. And since then, Kamadev is known with what name? Every Brahmana knows. What name is Kamadev? Huh? No, yeah, that comes later. No, I mean, any Brahmana knows. What is the name in this regard of Kamadev? It's Anaga. Anaga means the one who has no limbs, who has no body. Anaga. So, and then Rati went to Shiva and said, please, could you bring him back? And he said, okay, I can do that. And at the same time, a demon came to Shiva. A demon came to Shiva whose name was Shambhara. And Shambhara was the arch enemy either of Kamadev or Pradyumna, who is actually the same person. And he saw Rati and was attracted to her and asked, and he had a boon from Shiva, and he asked, I want her. And she said, oh no, this is terrible. And Shiva said, no, it's okay, go with him. This is all divine plan, and through this you will get back your husband. So, and then she lived in the house of Shambhara, whom she bewildered because her name was then Mayavati. And she had this bewildering power as her husband, and she somehow bewildered the Shambhara demon and lived okay in the house. So a long time later, we are now in Dwaraka. Actually, we are already in Dwaraka. It was not Mathura, it was in Dwaraka. Krishna was married to Rukmini. Rukmini was the daughter of King Bhishmaka. And it's, of course, a very nice story. And Krishna had later on, this was then later, because Rukmini was the first wife, and he had 16,108 wives. So many queens. And with every queen, he had 10 sons and 1 daughter. So Prabhupada counts then how many millions and millions this Yadu dynasty consisted of. So, and the first child of Rukmini and Krishna was Pradyumna. And he was born on the 6th day. He was only 6 days old. Shambhara demon came. He was Kama Rupa. It said, and again the word Kama. It said Kama Rupa means someone who can transform in any form he likes. Kama means also will or desire. So whatever form, Rupa, he desires, he can take. So somehow or other he went there unobserved and he stole the child because he's his enemy. And I don't know why, maybe someone can find out why actually he's the enemy, but it says the Shambhara demon is the enemy of It's Kamadev or Pradyumna. And he took Pradyumna and he threw him in the sea. And it said there were many big whales and monsters and fish, powerful fish. So he just threw him in the sea and thought this must be enough. He was not killing him like this, just threw him in the sea. Didn't want to get too much involved with the sinful reaction maybe of killing a child. I don't know why he was not a little bit more, attentive in destroying his enemy. Just threw him in the sea. And there in the sea, of course, many aquatics were there. And one big fish, he was swallowing this baby child. And later, there were fishermen, they collected the fish, and they collected this huge fish and brought this fish actually to the house of this Shambhara demon. And it said the cooks there, and Mayavati, or Rati, she was managing the kitchen. It's actually said in the Bhagavatam she was taking care of the rice and the grains and all that. She cooked that actually also. But these cooks, they opened this fish, and suddenly there was this baby inside, was still alive. Of course, it's Krishna's son, he's not getting killed so easily, was still alive, beautiful child, and Mayavati was surprised. Wow, where is this child coming? How is this? And at the same time, who comes? Narada Muni came to give some hints what's going on, help the Leela, and said, my dear Mayavati, actually, this child is your husband. This child is your husband. It's Kamadev being born now as Pradyumna, because all the demigods, they were born in Krishna's Leela. But of course, at the same time, we know they are not demigods, right? All the major players in Krishna's Leela, they are not demigods, they are eternal devotees, right? Eternal residents of the spiritual world. So how is it? Is it Kamadev or is it the son of Krishna? And the acharyas explain, actually every devotee from the spiritual world, he has kind of a demigod expansion, a demigod version of them in the material world. And when they appear, they kind of merge. We see this also with Drona and what was the name? Of Yashoda, Ananda, they had also this, who were the demigods before? Drona and, I forgot the name. Dara, yeah. Drona and Dara. Yeah? Drona and Dara were powerful sages. And it's said in the Krishna book, or 10th canto, when it's asked, how could Yashoda be so fortunate to have Krishna as her baby child? And then Shukadev says, yeah, in life before, they were Drona and Dara, very powerful sages. I was mixed it up with Vasudeva and Devaki, I think, but they were Drona and Dara, right? And, Yeah, they were. So, and they were very powerful sages, and they wanted to have Vishnu as their child, so this is what happened. And then you wonder, Yashoda and Nanda are sages from last life, and in the whole Bhagavatam it's like that every player has like a pre-birth, and this is how the Leela came together. And the acharyas explain that it's like this. They are eternal, but they have, all of them more or less, have their demigod expansion, and when they appear then they merge. But the predominating identity is the eternal identity. Yeah, because without that understanding, you would really wonder, how is it? Then it would be really like that every one of them has that demigod or eternal identity, which is more or less Vishnu. And then it's really like this. Vishnu appeared as Krishna, but cannot be. Krishna is the Supreme Person, of course. Okay, so, and then Narada Muni said, oh, this is your husband. And she was, oh, my husband. okay, I will take care of him. And then she took care of him like a mother, but at the same time understanding this is my husband. And this is how I will get him back now. He was burned by Shiva, and now I can get back my husband. And she was taking care of him in the house of Shambhara. And he grew up very fast, it said, isn't it? I remember. He grew up very fast. And he became, because he's Kamadev, is that he was most beautiful. And when he became older, every woman who saw him was completely enamored by him. Wow, he's so beautiful. He couldn't resist. And then when he became bigger, also Mayavati, she went into this relationship of a wife with him in a loving conjugal relationship, and had some, she had some gestures of a loving wife. And then Pradyumna said, oh, mother, this is a little bit weird now, you took care of me as a mother and now you show a different mood towards me. And he said, actually, I'm your wife. It's okay. I'm your wife. And she told him the whole story and said, but now that you are powerful enough and big enough, you have to kill Shambhara, this Shambhara demon. And let's get out of here. So Pradyumna, being very powerful also, went to the Shambhara demon and challenged him. Ha! Now we can fight, you rascal. And it said he was inciting him with many insults. When you wanna make someone angry, as devotees, we don't want to make someone angry, right? We wanna do the opposite. But if you just call them bad names, very easy, very difficult to not get angry if you're called all kinds of things. There's also our ego tested. So he was a demon. It worked. Pradyumna called him this and that. You idiot! Come on, let's fight. So and they fought a terrible battle, in which Shambhara, who had many mystic powers, he showed all kinds of illusions, but it said Mayavati, his wife, had also mystic powers, Maya, and gave it to Pradyumna, these mystic illusions, so he could counteract the mystic illusions of Shambhara demon, who was then beheaded by a sword of Pradyumna. He beheaded him. And then all the demigods were, of course, happy because all these demons were so powerful, no one else could do anything against them. And it was said Krishna will appear especially to kill all these demons. And they were kind of eternal enemies of the demigods and of the devotees. And also this name Shambhara you hear in the 8th canto when there was a fight between demigods and the devas. And many demons actually came in Krishna Lila from, they had their appearance before. As we know also, one of the main demons why Krishna actually appeared, right? When Hiranyakashipu was in charge, Nrsimhadev appeared, of course, to protect Prahlad, but also to kill Hiranyakashipu. So Krishna had also, he has this, his checklist, okay, but he had many demons on his list. Nrsimhadev killed only one, okay, and his associates, but Krishna killed so many powerful demons. And there was one demon especially who was on Krishna's list, and his name was Kala Nemi. And Kala Nemi had his appearance in the 8th canto in this fight between demigods and devas. And when Vishnu appeared, Kala Nemi attacked Vishnu. He was his arch enemy. And Kala Nemi was riding on a tiger or lion or something, and was killed by Vishnu. And he was dying in this mood of hate towards Vishnu. And then he came back as Kamsa, who was always hating Krishna. And so Krishna had him. Okay, I will kill him again. Kill him again. So also Shambhara was killed because of being an eternal enemy of the devas. And after he was killed, then Pradyumna and Mayavati went back to Dwarka. And this was many years later. Actually, the story starts before, in the Krishna book, before Krishna married 16,000 queens. This was before. But it said, the acharyas say, but because of continuity, he tells a story which was then in that sense not chronological, because actually in between Krishna married the queens and many other things happened, but this you don't have in this chapter. So then Krishna and Pradyumna and Mayavati want to go back to Dwarka from Shambhara's place, and it said they were flying. And it said Mayavati had mystical powers, and she was kind of carrying Pradyumna, and they were flying to Dwarka, appearing directly in the inner quarters of the palace, which was inhabited by the women. And suddenly they descended, and it said the women who saw Pradyumna, at first they thought it's Krishna. And so they became very bashful and ran away and hid behind the column, which is interesting. Yeah, this is we can see the mood of a Vedic woman, to be very submissive. What is it? In the background. Huh? And shy. That's the word I'm searching for. Shy, very shy. They saw, oh, it's Krishna, it's our husband, or and they were hiding. But then they looked, but actually, no, a little bit He looks a little bit different than Krishna. He looks almost like Krishna. Pradyumna looks almost like Krishna. And so they came out and wondered, who are you? You kind of look like Krishna, but you're not Krishna. And who is this beautiful woman there? And in this situation came Krishna in the scene together with Vasudeva and Devaki and Rukmini. And Rukmini did not know who he was, but immediately felt motherly affection. Immediately. And she said, you are in the age as if would have been my child whom I lost some time ago. And turned out it is her child. Must have been also very traumatic for her, losing her son after 6 days of birth. So she was definitely very happy in the situation. He's back. And she was so happy also to have this wonderful daughter-in-law, Mayavati. And they were all happy. And also Narada Muni came and said, yes, it's like this, and explained everything. Narada Muni has always the overview. It's called overview because he's above, right? He's flying through the space and he sees from up there, he sees the whole situation, he sees the connections, which we cannot see when we're in the middle of the whole thing. So he has the overview and he always comes in to connect the dots, so to say, and give some hints. Yeah. And when we don't know the whole picture, then sometimes we think, why is Narada Muni doing that? Narada Muni is a little tricky. Like also with the story of Kala Yavana. It said when Kala Yavana was attacking Mathura, this was connected with why Krishna actually built Dwarka. It said, and now Kala Yavana comes sent by Narada Muni. In the Bhagavatam it said like this, sent by Narada. And if you don't know the whole story and everything, you said, why? Narada Muni sends a huge demon army to Mathura to attack Krishna, sent by Narada. How does that fit together? And in general, it's often like this when we don't know the background information or the cause behind it. Sometimes information in the Leela are a little bit bewildering. This doesn't make sense, or this is contradictory. And very often the Bhagavatam resolves it itself, or it's resolved in the commentary of the Acharyas, or it's resolved in other scriptures. Not even the Bhagavatam. Because even other Puranas, they are interconnected. And today in the morning to tell that I read actually the Vishnu Purana, because something was in Vishnu Purana. Right? And I found this because in one purport, in the beginning of this story, the Vishnu Purana was quoted in a purport. And by chance I have actually a Vishnu Purana in English translation. And so I could look it up. So then it's interesting that you find other informations. Of course, we have to know many scriptures to know all the details. Might not be so much possible, but something can be resolved and say, this is why this happens, and this is why this happens. Oh, this is very interesting. So we should never think when we read something in the Bhagavatam that this doesn't make sense, or there's always a information behind it and we just don't know it. Right? And it's all a whole causality, right? It's all connected. Right. So, like in a movie, I heard recently example someone gave, it was good, in comparison to reincarnation, that we don't know a certain situation and we judge it just by the situation, that we don't know why it happened. It's like when you turn on a movie in the middle and you see one guy beating up another one. And you think, oh, this is not fair, this is terrible, and this poor guy. But you don't know before this he did something terrible, and right? So it's like this is very often also sometimes with the Bhagavatam, right? Sometimes it jump in the middle. And very often it's said in the Bhagavatam itself by the speaker, Shukadev Goswami, I can only tell you a little bit. It would be too much. Also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also said very often, I can only give a hint. If I would go more in detail, it would be too big. It's not possible to tell everything. Yeah. So but it's interesting if we can find out more. So as I said, so we can only sometimes accept, okay, it doesn't make sense to me, I cannot understand it, but it's written there that somehow or other it's true. It is true, but I cannot understand. So we accept it. So many things we have to accept anyway. So why not the Bhagavatam? Yeah, so the last point I want to make, so Pradyumna, yeah, he is Kamadev, very attractive. And then in the end of this story, actually Parikshit, Shukadev Goswami said, it's not astonishing that all the women felt this attraction toward Krishna, toward Pradyumna. Yeah, of course it was in one sense because he's Kamadev and very attractive, but actually it's because they all love Krishna and he reminded them so much of Krishna, and so they were attracted in these conjugal feelings, had these conjugal feelings. So in the last point, Anaga, right? Anaga is the Kamadev, and this is our problem in the material world, that we are very vulnerable in regards to the attacks of Kamadev. And the only solution is actually, of course, there are a couple of solutions, but the spiritual solution is, as we hear our acharyas, actually our acharyas want to save us from Kamadev, in one sense, to present the real Kamadev. Because I think it's Rupa Goswami says, and now this is the new Kamadev. The new Kamadev, actually the real Kamadev, is Krishna. Yeah, as we chant in the Gayatri Mantra, Anaga, it's in the Kama Bija Gayatri Mantra, right? It's the last Gayatri Mantra we chant as the Brahmanas, and there's Anaga. Krishna is called Anaga, yeah, who means Kamadev. And he's the real Kamadev because he doesn't give Kama or material love, but real love, prema. And only by that can we become immune against material attractions and karmic reactions which are involved with that. And the acharyas, when we read texts of the Goswamis, Krishna is really like that. He's presented as Kamadev. He is, what is in this verse? Smeran Bangitraya. What is this verse? Where Krishna standing on the banks of the Yamuna in the moonlight, lovingly smiling, playing on his flute, and you should not look at him if you're still interested in worldly affairs, Rupa Goswami says. And the Kamadev comes out, especially in the relationship with Radharani, because this is where Krishna has his youthful, loving, and this romantic mood, which is Kamadev creating. Yeah? Kamadev creates this romantic mood, and everyone is sucked in. But the real romance, actually, it's said the whole romance of the material world, any romantic arrangement or search situation, is only an imitation of Krishna's Adi Rasa, as Prabhupada says, right? The Adi, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the Adi Rasa. And the real romance and the real loving relationship is between Radha and Krishna. And the more a devotee understands that and can appreciate that, the more his Kam goes down. And the less Kamadev will be impressive, because what can any material loving relationship do in comparison to the most beautiful, attractive, and also romantic arrangement of Radha and Krishna's Leela? Right? And that is the real Kamadev, who is meditated upon. Yeah, most beautiful, youthful, and beautiful Krishna. So in this constellation, it's not Krishna with Yashoda, it's not Krishna even with the cowherd boys, no, it's Krishna with Radharani. And that should do it to satisfy us completely. And in the end of Ras Leela, in the 35th chapter, in 10th canto, actually, this is what Shukadev Goswami says. If you want to become free from lust, you have to hear about Krishna's Ras Leela. He says it. You have to hear Ras Leela. But the qualification should be there. Actually, if we're not qualified, then actually Ras Leela and all the romantic aspect of divinity will inspire our romantic tendencies. So that means some pre-purification should be there. Some minimal purification should be there. But if this is done, then of course, this is our prescription. All right? So it's interesting how this shall work. It will attract us more. Krishna's Leela will attract us more and shall attract us away from material pleasures. But it's actually a very high platform. Actually, it's a very high platform. And because we cannot follow immediately, we need actually Varnashram Dharma. So that's what I've said before. The solution, this is the spiritual solution, but the material solution is Varnashram Dharma, especially Grihastha Ashram. Because if it would be so easy, everyone, man and woman, would be renunciants. But we are not. Majority of devotees not. Meaning, some or other, we cannot use it so much that we are completely absorbed in Leela and all our material desires are overcome, and attraction to the other gender is, we all see through, it's just a soul in a female or male body, but this is not interesting, this attraction, because it's just an ridiculous imitation of Radha Krishna's perfect pastime. Why should I do that? Why should we imitate with our very limited male and female qualities, which are perfect in Radha Krishna? Why should we imitate them if I can hear about the perfect and be completely absorbed and satisfied through this? Rarely. Rarely. Yeah. Maybe we are not using it enough. It could be also that our sadhana is not strong enough that we really could really get this taste. But in general, we need Varnashram Dharma. Actually, we need this Grihastha Ashram, which should do the material purification. But at the same time, we have to build on this Grihastha Ashram then to bring our consciousness to this very pure consciousness. So these both things. Grihastha Ashram with all its duties, which should purify us from karma, but at the same time, nice sadhana, where we have the spiritual, perfect, romantic situation. And then we can become free. This is my hope, my expectation. But at least in theory, it's like this. And in that sense, it's actually a very beautiful path, very aesthetic. Because all our longings for aesthetic and love and perfection and also romance, it's all there in Krishna. In a wonderful, beautiful, colorful way. And we don't have to negate anything. Nothing has to be negated. It just has to be purified and put into Krishna, so to say, or seen in Krishna. And then really to appreciate, this is the perfect Leela, this is the perfect, and this is actually what we want to serve. And coming back to that, what I quoted in the beginning, the talk between Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course it comes out then that, because the talk is what is the highest, what is the most important, and it comes out, Radha Krishna is the highest, is the most important. And then a sadhana is explained in this chapter, how to reach that, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, so you so wonderfully explained the highest is Radha Krishna. Actually, the highest is when Radha and Krishna are so much in love with each other that their hearts become one, it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's like if you melt two portions of gold and bring them together, and it becomes like one. And Radha and Krishna, in their loving pastime, they are so connected. They have this feeling of oneness in their love and experience the highest pleasure there. And then Mahaprabhu wants to know, okay, nice for them, but can we also have some experience of that or some appreciation? And this is then where sadhana is explained. And said, yes, this is a pleasure which they experience, but what they also want to share with everyone else who is interested in it. And the process how to attain that is to follow in the footsteps of and they call them the Sakis. And the Sakis, Saki means a girlfriend. If you follow the footsteps of the Sakis who are in connection with this union, then you also can attain the same bhava. And bhava means love or mood. So we have to follow this mood of the Sakis who have appreciation for that, and this is how in this chapter is explained how to attain that. So, and this is then purifying. Of course, there you should be purified from any gross karma anyway, but it's very interesting how this is connected in this build-up in this chapter. Very interesting chapter. This, I think, what is the 8th chapter of Madhya Lila. How the talk is built and what are the questions. Very structured. Actually, Krishnadas Kaiviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita makes a very gives a very structured presentation. And this is his genius, that he puts in the biography of Mahaprabhu all his structured philosophy. Everything very structured, very nicely analyzed. Yeah. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk in regards to this verse of the demons being bewildered because of their lust. And this is not only their problem, this is problem of any embodied living entity, and that we have a very beautiful way how to deal with that. Yeah. Not because other traditions have the same problem, like in Christianity. It's a little cross example, and maybe now I don't want to spoil my point, but the monks, they have the same problem, right? They have a monk tradition, and they know, okay, sex is the problem, lust is the problem, women are the problem, more or less, and how to get rid of it. Huh? And it's very difficult at times. So much so, there was one sage, not one sage, it was one church father, I think even one pope, Augustine, I think was his name. Was it Augustine? Who did something really terrible to himself to not be lusty. Castrated himself, physically. Huh? He did that? No, the eyes. Oh, yeah, the eyes. Yes. But, okay, something similar. Okay, you're true. You're right. Bilva Mangala Thakur did something similar. So we don't have to do that. And so we have a very beautiful way to get rid of all materialistic, egoistic, demonic tendencies, right? We get nicely converted. And this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. He is killing the demon inside with rasa, with taste, higher rasa. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for listening. Anything you want to add? Any questions? Yes, please, Prabhu.
Krishna for their situation. But from Shastra we can see also that great devotees also are put in such serious tests and are stayed without wealth, meaning stay without. So if you can say something like that, as we can see, devotees, even blame Krishna and even reject the process of bhakti yoga.
No, thank you very much. Yeah, this is, I will not speak too much because this is a very big, important topic, but I cannot say so much because out of experience, because so far I was not having as much trouble in general in my life, I would say. But yeah, sometimes it's difficult, and we can see sometimes in the lives of devotees it's difficult. Yeah, we can only learn, as you say, from Shastra, that trouble and problems are actually a requirement almost for purification. I was studying now, I'm doing Bhakti Vaibhava studies, and we had this chapter of Kunti Devi's prayers, and of course there it comes out. And before that we had also Draupadi, who her children got killed, and the question was, what was Draupadi's glory or greatness? And it was that her children got killed, and she was still merciful and kind to the killer. Because it was her problem. It was her problem, and it said a devotee will never take some personal insult serious. If it's someone else, he will be, suffering actually. Oh, it's terrible, and be empathic and want to help. Or protect from danger. But it's a devotee for himself, a pure devotee, of course, when it's in this regard, he is accepting everything. Every trouble is accepting. This is Krishna's mercy. as we hear also in Shikshashtakam, in the 8th line, that whatever you do, Krishna, it's all good with me, it's all fine, no problem at all. I will never blame you. How could I? There's something good in it. So of course this is now very, very, very high, but the principle should be understood that Krishna is my friend, and best is of course if we develop this understanding and some bit of relationship before we fall in trouble. Maybe a devotee who is not very long in the process too soon falls into trouble and hasn't understood how nice and wonderful Krishna is. But the more beautiful experience we have with Krishna in the sadhana and develop the relationship, the more we can also then accept. Because we know Krishna is my friend and whatever he does is good for me. And I accept this in principle, even though I cannot understand it right now, but in principle understand. And he's not to blame, he has some plan behind it. I don't know how it will turn out, but it's good. It's good. It's because Krishna is merciful. And we see in the lives of, as you quote said, and also here, of like almost any devotee, huge trouble. Maybe Prabhupada or the Acharyas, or in the Shastra, Haridas Thakur, or Kunti, or Draupadi, Pandavas. Who has no trouble? And how can we expect now beautiful, nice, easy life because we are so great and wonderful? Even they suffered so much. So it's part of the whole program. And there's even a shloka where it said, if Krishna loves you, he takes away everything from you. Right? Prabhupada quoted this so often because he experienced it. Actually, I read recently, I did not know that. Did you know how many children Prabhupada had? Yeah, 8 children. I didn't know that. Actually, recently I read that 8 children. Because we only know about, 2. And they said most of them turned against him, especially when he left home. Not sannyas, but when most of them turned against. And one he had, I think it was his first son. He was actually mentally ill, crazy, dying somewhere on the streets of Calcutta. Yeah, I think it was his first son. Yeah, he was somehow, he couldn't. Yeah, exactly. So, and sometimes devotees are sick, diseases, get sick, trouble in the relationship, family, this, that, yeah. We should somehow rather try to find the good, seeing the good in it, and at least not blame Krishna. We would hurt ourselves most if we cut ourselves from the biggest help we have in the trouble. And last thing, I always said like this, that if you in a demonic heart will find more arguments and conviction against God and turn to atheism in trouble, in suffering. Like one of the biggest arguments of atheism is this of the suffering in the world. This is like one of their main arguments. And a pious heart will turn towards God and become even more convinced of God's existence in suffering. Yeah.
It's actually a matter of faith in Krishna. If we have unflinching faith, then we can see His hand in everything. Right? So it's almost like a test ground.
Yeah, it's exactly that. The faith. If you have faith, faith is so needed and necessary. Yeah, thank you for the question, because this is a very important topic for all of us one time, one day.
Just one quick thing. Can you repeat the last sentence of the verse? I somehow couldn't get it linguistically.
The last sentence of the verse or of the purport? Verse, yeah. Pray. Pray. This is somehow rather in Old English phrase. Pray. It's not praying, but it's like, I also don't. Also, Shivaram Swami uses this a lot in his books and his Leela books. But it's concerning her hair. What to speak of her hair. That was the connection. Because it was concerning the hair.
Yeah, braid your hair or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
I just couldn't understand this braid.
Exactly, yeah.
So, what does it?
It meant something like it was glorifying her.
Braiding your hair or something?
Yeah, that her hair, which was actually scattered, it said, was very attractive. And
You got the verse there?
so it was like,
Somebody has?
I have. what to speak about her hair. Oh, it needs to open. I first time heard it in Shiva Ram Swami's books, in this Venu Gita and all that. It's like, pray braid your comely hair. Pray braid your comely hair. Comely. Yeah. Comely means what? Beautiful. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I have to find here. I have the Bhagavatam here. But we have it there?
You can find the versions.
Okay, if you don't have it there, I have it here. Oh, you have it there.
Deine Haare, also
Der letzte Satz.
der letzte Satz ist, bitte flechte dein hübsches Haar.
Ach komm,
Bitte flechte dein hübsches Haar. Pray braid your comely hair. Oh, pray has means something like please. Yeah, please. Yeah. Yeah, I think like this. Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So basically, I pray
Yeah.
that you will braid your
Yeah.
curly hair.
Yes. Oh, nice. Thank you for asking that, because I also always wondered, and I kind of put it into some vague understanding of it. That okay, I'm fine with it, understanding it as according to my speculation, but it's good if we
But I think
understand
also
clearly.
it's a question whether the German translation is a good one.
Exactly.
In the early days, they were translating all kinds of things.
Exactly. But it makes sense. Pray braid your comely hair. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Karantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande.